Greetings and welcome to Disrupt Your Day, Season 3, Meet Your Next Superhero. Women have been starting small businesses in record levels since the pandemic began in 2020. Because everyone's path is different, there's plenty we can learn from women business owners who have been down the road before. So sit back, listen, and let them disrupt your day.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to VisionReady's podcast series. This is the second episode of Season 3. We will be talking about starting the year right. My name is Pon Angara, and I'm the creative director for VisionReady. VisionReady is a certified woman-owned business, helping women entrepreneurs transform their businesses with confidence, grit, and resilience. We help open doors with the public and private sectors, for contract opportunities to grow your company's bottom line. And we achieve this by providing business consulting, training, project management, and wellness programs. Our guest today is Lynn Hazan. As the president and founder of Lynn Hazan and Associates, Lynn has been making a difference in the careers of marketing and communications professionals for the past 23 years. And we've known each other for 13 of those 23 years. She's a business partner to corporations, an impassioned mentor, and a fierce friend. Welcome, Lynn.
Thank you. Thank you, Pon. It's a pleasure connecting with you all these years. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for carving out some time for us. And I know that we've known each other for such a long time. And so it was just a perfect invitation. And of course, we're so thrilled that you're here with us today to talk through our topic. But before that, tell us more about your work, your mission, some of the things that you've learned, or maybe some highlights of what you've learned throughout those 23 years.
Actually, it's going to be my anniversary in January of year number 23 as Lynn Hazan and Associates. Thank you. And my 38th as a recruiter. So I've learned a few things over the years. First of all, we are the relationship recruiters. What's really critical is working with real people, clients and candidates, and getting to know them and fostering a relationship over time. Because we don't place robots. We place candidates who are real, live, thinking, working, feeling individuals with a passion and skill set for what they do professionally. And when I recruit, what my philosophy is the rule of 3. Mm-hmm. That my goal when I present talent is within the first 3 resumes, ideally, and especially the first resume will be the standard bearer of excellence. That when I present talent within those 3 candidates, one of them hopefully will be the candidate of choice. Because when you're hiring a recruiter, especially our team, myself and Falcone Shaw at Lynn Hazan and Associates, we're dedicated recruiters to finding those kinds of candidates who make a difference for your organization. And it's not just about throwing stuff against the wall to see if it sticks. That's not a good use of our time. And instead, we like to foster career-long relationships with our candidates. Actually, many of our candidates started off as interns early in their careers. They progressed over time. And I encourage those kinds of relationships so that at the right point in their time, in my hiring calendar, if there's a good mesh of those kinds of credentials, we can make the magic happen. And it's truly a meeting of the minds, body, and spirit in terms of being at the right place, at the right time, and having the right opportunity. And because it works, when those candidates go into hiring mode on their own after I've placed them in jobs, they know that we are the trusted authority who can make great hiring decisions on their behalf. And I'm thrilled about it because so many of our candidates have been those kinds of candidates that we've formed trusted relationships with as well.
Right. That's awesome. And also describe to us how you work with corporations that need your services executive search firms that maybe need your services as well, because they probably couldn't do it as good as you. And so tell me about that sort of B2B relationship.
Yeah, that's a really great question. How I work with clients in many ways mirrors how I work with candidates. Why? I ask questions and I dig deep, as I like to call it. So when I meet with a client, I go way beyond the descriptions of the job specs, because job specs can rather be generic. You will do A, B, C, and D, you will write, you'll edit, you'll create a marketing plan, etc. That's a job description. What I like to do when I find out about my clients is, what are your needs? What are you looking for in a talent candidate profile that you don't have either in your current staff or that you haven't been able to find in the candidates that maybe you've been looking at on your own? And the better I have an understanding of what their needs are, the better able I am then to find them, quote, that perfect candidate. And I use the same methodology of asking questions when I work with candidates, because most candidates are too close to their own experience when they even send me their resumes. And I have to tell you, 98% of all candidates that I work with, I ask them nicely to revise their resumes. And it's the law of 80-20. 80% prep equals 20% execution. So when a candidate revises his or her resume and showcases accomplishments and tells stories, I'm a storyteller, so I like to hear stories because it makes an impact on your brain and on your heart, and you remember the story. When you remember the story, you remember the candidate versus a job description. And then the candidates interview better. And so we have that prep cycle that I do with the client and the prep cycle with the candidate. And that way there's synergy and good energy that flows back and forth, because it's really important not only that I understand the candidate, the client, it's the culture, the values. And you know what? Very few companies even have them listed on their specs, on their websites. So it's my job to find that out, to make sure that I have the kind of candidate who reflects those organizations' values in and of themselves, even before looking at job specs.
I'm glad you mentioned that you're a storyteller, because I know that that's how you and I click. You know, we're soulmates on that level. And actually, I was looking at your LinkedIn profile just yesterday, and I saw that you have a 6-word story. Why don't you tell us about that and how you came about creating that?
Well, the 6-word story is a tool that I use to get candidates to help them describe who they are. And there's a big emphasis on who are you when I interview talent. So I model it. So for example, what happens is when I ask candidates, who are you? And it's like, oh, they ramble. So in creating this exercise, I get it tight. So my 6-word story is passionate recruiter, loves placing superb talent. That's who I am. And then when I challenge my candidates and my interns and my staff and anybody who comes for career consulting to get it, it's an amazing process because they smile, and it's their core, it's their essence, it's their being, and their passion then comes through. And you know what? Every single person gives me a different 6-word story. And then I go further and ask, what's your 6-word enterprise story in terms of what is the contribution that you're going to make for the company that you aspire to work for? So we take it to the next level in terms of who are you going to be for the company? It's not just who you are as a human being, and it's who you are as a potential employee. So by taking candidates through these activities, it helps them feel empowered about themselves, gives them confidence, and actually gives them tools so they can express themselves. And if they're stuck, they go, oh, I have a really cool exercise that I learned to talk about who I am and how I can be of value to your organization. And people practice and they smile and they have fun and everybody relaxes. And now they're in the zone together.
Yeah, that's amazing. And that is so useful, especially at this time of the year when we're thinking back, you know, this past year and also thinking forward about the next year, I think all of our viewers could use that exercise and come up with their 6-word story as they come into 2023 and make that sort of like their identity, their motto, or even their North Star, because that's going to keep them on course because it's who they are.
Yeah, I love that, Pon. It's like a guiding light. Where do you want to go? How do you want to get there? What tools do you need to be successful? What alliances can you create along the way? Because you know, you're only as good as the people you represent, the teams you work with, and the alliances you create with other businesses, with other people who run businesses. Because at the end of the day, we hire people. And so being able to manifest that kind of trust with other companies, it's with the people who run those businesses. That's the most important factor. And being able to deliver. You have to deliver on your promises.
Right. So folks, all of you watching, that is the biggest learning nugget for today's session. And well, I don't know, maybe not. Maybe there are other wonderful learning nuggets that Lynn will have in store for us. So Lynn, let's dive into our main topic. And that is, what are your top three priority action steps for the beginning of 2023? Share with us.
Great question. So first of all, I love to partner with organizations and people, because you'd be amazed about groups, professional societies, social networks that exist, whether it's online, in person, at industry events, that sometimes I don't even know about, and I discover them, and it's an amazing story. I created a workshop for the Project Management Institute, and it was very, very well received in person. So delivering in person, connecting with professional associations where possible. So PMI is an example of that. And then wherever you can with real people and organizations. So go to those kinds of events, whether they're online or in person, because I recently placed a candidate with Tony P's networking group, and it was a virtual networking group. And it just so happened that the candidate who was on the call, I placed her in a job, and she started this month. So there's awesome. Another win-win situation. So connect with organizations that you have something in common with, that you can be of mutual support to them. Then I also like to be involved with organizations in terms of higher education. I've been very involved with DePaul University for many, many years. I teach workshops and seminars there for students, alumni, graduate students as well. And I've had many, many interns from DePaul who've also been affiliated with my organization. So I always recommend, whether it's an alum, if you are an alumni of a particular organization, or you aspire to get involved with them. I'll give you another example. I'm very involved with an organization called Emeritus, EMERITUS. They're a global organization, and they provide continuing education certificate programs. They partner with organizations like Northwestern and Harvard. And Lynn Hazan and Associates partners with Emeritus. And I have done workshops and seminars for them. I already did 2. I'm on board to do a 3rd one. And I got a new client out of one of those directly, because somebody followed up with me because of that workshop. So creating those kinds of alliances with higher education organizations is really critical. I've also done workshops and seminars with the University of California in Irvine, University of Maryland in Baltimore, Northwestern University in the Chicago area, and many, many other groups. So it's my way not only to give back, and also to create a trusted working relationship with them. So if you're a business owner, whether it's an alumni organization you belong to, or an educational institution that you have an affinity to that aligns with your specialty areas, I highly recommend that you be involved with an institution of higher education.
Great.
Also, is these workshops and seminars. So as you know, I'm a professional storyteller. I love to perform. It's one of the things that I've done my entire life. And by sharing my passion as a storyteller, it's a way for me to connect with my audience. So when I do my workshops and my seminars, they're interactive. So I involve my audience They don't fall asleep. You know, that. And they're actively engaged in activities that are fun.
Yeah.
And so that's one of my techniques that I use to market my capabilities, is to do these workshops and seminars and programs all over the country, whether they're in person or doing them in a virtual sense. And so I partner with my interns. They help me to create the content. And that way also I model good techniques in terms of presentation and being able to deliver in a timely manner that is relevant for the people. Because guess what? Somebody in the audience will say, Lynn, could you help me? Could you place me in a job? Or I'd like to hire you. I'd much rather do my marketing via presentation than sending off random email messages to people who don't know me. Because again, it's all about forming that trusted relationship so that we all help each other. One of my mottos for my internship program, for example, is you teach me, I teach you, we teach each other, and we all learn together. Because what I've seen over time is this whole concept of intergenerational learning. The more we help each other across the different generations and not get hung up about 3 to 5, 5 to 7, 7 to 9 years of experience, then it's a win for everybody. And I've been a big proponent of working across different generations, different age groups as well, because let's not get so segmented into these little boxes that don't work for us anymore.
Right, right. Lynn, this is amazing. So I'm thinking of so many other follow-up topics equals after this session. So we're definitely going to have to invite you back. Wonderful learning nuggets here. So let me just ask you another question, and this has something to do with your experience with working with organizations, professionals in associations and corporations, and then also the people in higher ed.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I see it, and I'm sure you probably will appreciate this, the way I see it, and tell me if I'm using the right analogies here, your experience or your role mirrors a bridge, because since you're both you're in both worlds, you're walking between both worlds of the professional, the corporation, and the higher education, the learning and the experimenting and the taking risks and the imagination and let's try this. So because you're walking between those both worlds, you're this bridge between people in those realms, and that helps you as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as a relationship recruiter, to actually have the pulse of both worlds. And so you become this go-to person because you speak both languages.
Yeah. And having multiple languages in your background is also helpful. So I grew up speaking French as well, and different languages. So I'm always trying to connect with what native language you speak, diversity, different backgrounds, ethnic, etc. So that's the beauty of being at that point on the bridge, is to be able to connect with everybody, because the trends are changing so dramatically. I'll give you an example. The whole world of marketing and having very specific skill sets in marketing is growing at such an accelerated pace that if you have very specific skill sets and the client is looking for those skill sets, check, then I can talk to a candidate and present his or her credentials. So I have to be up to date with what's trending, let my people know in terms of the educational organizations, this is what we're looking for, marketing automation skills, for example. So to make sure that are the students learning those skill sets so they will be competitive, they will be in demand when I'm looking to place them in jobs. And then when the candidates come and work as interns at my firm, they learn how to use WordPress and Constant Contact and update websites. So they have practical experience, samples for their portfolios, and then when they interview for jobs, here's what I did, there, and this is what I can do for you as a new employee for your firm. And I've actually placed my interns in jobs. So it's a symbiotic relationship that works for everybody across different generations. It does take work. I will be the first person to say you can't just float.
Exactly. Well, you know,
And yeah,
yeah,
go ahead.
definitely it has to take work. It has to take a commitment,
Yeah.
because relationships take commitment and it takes work. So let me ask you one question before we go to my last question. So this is like second to last question, and that is, so if you were to talk to an entrepreneur who just started a business, so they're bootstrapping, or maybe they've had some investor, maybe they've had an angel investor, which is great. You know, they have the budget, but they don't know how to hire people, and they don't know how to find the right talent, or they're scratching their heads about, okay, now we have the funding, now we have the money, now we have a place. How do we find the right talent? So these are people who are starting to their business, and they've only been in business, and they've never been in business. You know, this is their first time to actually start a business. They're rookies. How would you handle someone who approaches you and they're in that situation?
That's a great question. Actually, one of my favorite questions, and I've worked with startups way back when in the day, as well as people who are starting their own businesses. Here's one of my core questions. Take the job responsibilities, and we'll get to that in a minute, on a percentage basis from 0 to 100%. How will the candidate spend his or her time? Because the hiring manager or the entrepreneur or the business owner needs to understand, why are you hiring this candidate? What will the candidate do? How that person will spend his or her time? What are the outcomes you're looking for? What are the skill sets that you need? And here's where it's tricky, because a lot of candidates claim they have great writing skills. Oh, I have to tell you, writing skills have gone down during the pandemic. And it's not acceptable to have typos in materials that go out. And people often overstate their technical skill sets. So we have seen an increased need for marketing skills, technology skill sets, software capabilities, and the ability to be a quick learner, because the person who is the entrepreneur doesn't have the time to sit there and to teach them how to use the technology. And it's okay knowing that it's not going to be perfect, as long as the candidate is committed to the learning process and takes it seriously and says, okay, I need to brush up on this. Oh, there are all these certificate classes that you can take. There are all these webinars, there are LinkedIn classes that you can take in as well. There's Emeritus, there's Coursera. And if the candidate cares and wants to learn, then we're going to see that commitment in action. And if the candidate also has the basic discipline, show up on time, do your job, ask good questions, do the research on your own, so you demonstrate initiative, that you're going to bring value to the company. And we all need to bring in that kind of initiative. Or it could be that you might be able to collaborate with somebody else on your team. So we've seen during the pandemic, there was a higher degree of collaboration with people helping each other. So that way, one person might be strong in one area, one might be another. Fine, work together and help each other. So one person can be the coach and one person can be the trainee. And then you all help each other in different capacities. So some people aren't good proofreaders. So make sure you change and get the person to check your proofreading work before you send it out, and never have any typos going out.
Right. Again, it's that attention to detail. It's because you care. You show that you care when you have no typos, because if you have typos or even grammatical errors, why would someone waste their time in reading what you have?
And it says a lot about your commitment to doing quality work, because if a person is sloppy, what else are they going to be sloppy about? If you have to take medication and they put the wrong prescription and somebody has a crisis,
Yeah. you have to be able to think ahead and
Yeah.
almost think for the person that you're working for, because they won't have time to run all through get into the weeds of everything. That's why they want a self-starter.
Yeah.
So,
80-20, 80% prep, 20% execution. So I always tell, even when you're doing a deck or a presentation, don't think of yourself like a college student. Oh, it's midnight. My time is up. I have to get it in before midnight. No, sleep on it. Look at it in the morning. Look at it 10 times, 5 times.
Right.
Check with somebody else to make sure everything's letter perfect, because that talks about your commitment.
Right, exactly. Little things mean so much.
Yeah.
So Lynn, what is your North Star for 2023?
I'm so glad you asked that question, because I like to manifest positive energy. And I've been told my entire life, Lynn, you're really high energy. Yeah, I am. And that
Give me some of that energy.
and that propels me forward. So if you think positive, if you act positive, if you inspire people, if I inspire myself, if I think about all the positive attributes that I can bring to encourage my candidates, to encourage my clients, be honest, act with integrity, and put that positive feeling out there. It's contagious, because you know what? The world is always changing, and there's good days and there's bad days. And one of the things that I love is the Happiness Project from Gretchen Rubin. And I read her quotes every morning before I log into work to get myself in that positive mind space, so I can propel it forward in a positive, high energy, positive way that impacts on me and the people I work with.
Exactly, because a smile can make a huge difference in a person's day.
Yeah.
And all you can do is be that positive person for them.
Yeah.
And sorry, go ahead.
The other piece to add is I have your back.
Yeah.
Lesson from Second City is I have your back, and I'm here to support you, and we're here to support each other.
Yes, exactly. And I wish that people would think more about that, not always trying to, compete with each other. And it's not a zero-sum game, but it's really about uplifting each one of us together, and we're all better for it. We're all the better for it.
Yeah.
So,
because no one person has all the collective knowledge, wisdom, experience, and understanding. That's why diversity is so important. That's why we need a difference of opinion, a difference of perspective, so we can teach each other and go, oh, I'm glad you brought that up. That's a great point of view. Let's include that in this presentation. Or this is what I'm going to learn more about my customers.
Right.
And then you take that and you include it.
Right. Well, Lynn, you have been a positive force of energy this morning, and I thank you for that. I will definitely stay in touch. We will definitely stay in touch, because there's some sequels here that I think we're going to have to invite you again soon. And in the meantime, I know that you're going to go on a trip. Safe travels.
Thank you.
And we really appreciate your time. And I'm sure our audience appreciates your time. And I'm sure they enjoyed all of your learning nuggets. So thank you, Lynn. And thank you, all of you viewers. And we will see you at the next episode in about 2 weeks. Thank you.
All right. Here's to a great 2023. Thank you.
Same here. Thank you.
Thank you for listening and letting us disrupt your day. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast. For the latest entrepreneur buzz, please sign up for our newsletter by using the link in the description. Remember, be the change you want to see in the world. Until next time.